Hello. So excited to have you on as our guest this week. As you know, Pet Groomer Appreciation Day is on November 1st, and we here at DaySmart Pet wanted to shine a light on groomers and just the pet industry in general. For those who are listening, I will be chatting with our guest, Victor, today about his experience as a pet groomer, as well as the importance of practicing wellness in the pet industry today. So, without further ado, welcome, Victor. Before we begin, tell us a little bit about what you do and how you started in the pet grooming business.
Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation. I'm always one step ahead when it comes to information and motivation for our groomers because I think we are more than an industry, we're a family. And I think we can spread out the good news all the time. When I started grooming, some people always, when they see my name, they think about dog shows. They think about confirmation shows, and I started in as a commercial groomer. So my foundation was having a pet store, grooming dogs, boarding dogs, and selling pet supplies. I I wanted to expand my business. Like everybody, when we build our business, initially we have this small dream. We think it's a big dream, but then the more we go into our dream, we find out that we want it bigger and bigger. And that's what brought me into this progression as a business person. And I end up with a really big business that was taking a big toll um, on the best years of my life and my youth, when I was, very young and doing stuff that I wasn't ready. But I like challenge. Um, so I end up with a really busy salon, and I had to develop ways to find wellness in my life. Wellness is, for me, it's important. It's that state of mind of being healthy, not only inside but also outside. Um, I see groomers worldwide, and they work a lot. And yes, they make money. And yes, they're successful. And yes, they're happy working with dogs. But when they, at the end of the day, they go home, they look themselves in the mirror, and they see them abandoned by the constant need of work, the long hours, and not being able to eat properly or just take command of their own life because we're always busy, pleasing customers and grooming dogs every day. It's a constant need. Dogs, I don't know, they multiply year by year. And now after COVID, we see an increased number of dogs, and more
Mhm.
customers are bringing more dogs to our salons. Our appointment books are getting more, complex and busy. So is we. And I think now more than ever, we need to start a new conversation, not about teaching about grooming dogs or stuff. It's about wellness, how
Mhm.
to take care of us as professionals. If you don't love yourself, if you don't take care of your own body, you're not going to be able to love other people. You're not going to have anything inside to even love the dogs that you have on the table.
For
So
sure.
I think it's about time that we have these conversations about wellness. So thank you for inviting me to bring this topic into our industry so we can all benefit from it.
Yeah, of course. I think wellness is something that's difficult to talk about because it can mean so many different things across so many different industries, right? And as you know, DaySmart covers a plethora of different brands and industries from hair salons to pet salons to recreation. Can you kind of tell us what wellness means to you specifically as a pet groomer?
As a pet groomer, wellness means taking when that it's that moment in your life that you take command of yourself and you take away from your shoulders the stress factors of your life, the big stress factors. Stress is one thing that kills people. Stress is something that causes not only illness, not only there are so many things that stress can cause in your body, and people don't give a lot of importance to stress when we're busy. But busy, it's when you need to manage your stress more efficiently. Now, stress are always related to something sad, to something that you're preoccupied. But stress can only be linked to a state of happiness that you cannot control, and it's also another stress in your life. So you need to manage those stress factors, find a balance, take command, and that's when you find wellness in yourself, and
Mm.
not only in your mind but also in your body. You'll see the benefit of it.
Yeah, you do a really good job of walking us through how stress can affect health. And when your health is affected, that affects everything else from work to day-to-day responsibilities. So it seems like there are a lot of interesting and unique challenges that come with pet industry and the pet grooming business. And it's something that we don't talk about a lot, right? Because it's such a niche group of people and a niche community. Can you describe some of your favorite aspects of the job?
Well, first of all, the best aspects of the work, it's working with dogs. I don't, when I see Mother Nature, and I'm an admirer of Mother Nature. I think it's amazing in the planet that we live. But dogs are one of the most amazing creatures ever created.
I agree.
Um, I don't know it when you think about this. I think dogs releases all these most of those stress factors that I mentioned, and I think they're your best friends to for you to take that path of wellness. If you're smart enough, you can find wellness with the use of dogs as your guide. Um, they're always happy. I see dogs. I always compare that their heart are attached to their tail. So every time they wag their tails is because their heart is beating.
It's a good
So
point.
yeah, so when I see dogs like, walking those tails faster, it's because they're happy. I see that heart beating faster because they're happy. I I don't know. I think one of the most beautiful things about being a groomer is working with dogs. And if I have to live in another life, I am gonna be a groomer. I don't know, but I don't know if how can I do this, but I'm gonna be a groomer. I am sure.
Well, so you talk about your early days and your journey to becoming a groomer and having to have spent a large majority of your youth concentrating on building your business. What were moments or things that kind of inspired you along the way for you to say, okay, I'm going to pursue this fully?
Well, in the beginning, it was my parents, my dad. I want my dad to be proud of me. I wanted my dad to be proud of who I can, what I can achieve. And I come from a family of limitations and limited income, so they didn't have, money to say that. I mean, they were just working with limited income, and not the majority of my family, they didn't have a university degree or something. So I wanted to I wanted to be better. I wanted to have my own business to prove them that that we can do it,
Mhm.
and I want them to look at me and say, hey, I am so proud of the son that I have. But then, do I really wanted to make my parents proud, or do I really wanted to make myself proud? And when I started thinking about, instead of making my parents make them proud of me, I wanted to be proud of myself. And that's when the beautiful moment of my career started, because I took out the stress from showing and proving to my parents or to the society or to anyone how successful can I be, and I started thinking about me. let me make myself proud. When you start like being your own challenge, when you start competing against yourself and you start proving to yourself and not to anybody else, beautiful things happen. And
Mm.
that's when I took my business to the next level. At one point, I remember I was really busy in my salon, working 7 days a week, making a lot of money, not being able to have the time to spend it. And I said one day, you know what? I'm gonna close the door and I will never open again. And I went one day, I closed the door, I locked the door, and I started my journey as in a different way, doing business in a different way, in the same industry in a different way. But I went doing wholesales. So I was taking care of veterinarians, veterinarian clinics, grooming salons,
Wow.
and yeah, and because I wanted to have more time for me. I think I at this point I wish I can still have my own salon because it's beautiful. I think in my opinion I the business grew into me. I think the business was so big and I never found the way to grow with my business at the same speed. And it was my mistake. And I faced my mistake. I command my mistake. And so I decided to find a solution and I did. And now my career it's based on that decision that day when I locked the door and I shut down my 7 days, 360 days a year job.
Wow. It's interesting. I think a big part of wellness is making unpopular sacrifices too, right? And prioritizing mental health. It seemed like for you, leaving that business that was causing you so much stress in your life was a big part of you starting your wellness journey, which is very inspiring. And I guess the message to people listening here is not to immediately quit your jobs and jump to something else, right? But it could be think about something that makes you happy or think about an in between, a sacrifice where you'll still be able to do what you love while finding that happy medium. Um,
I think you're right. The message is not to make a strong decisions like I did, but I was looking into wellness at some point because it was my mistake. The business was growing so fast. I forgot about how to control myself and control the stress factor that came with it. So I needed like a new beginning right away
right.
because I needed it for my own wellness. So I was always remember I stopped from pleasing others or showing to others, and I started pleasing myself and showing to myself. So I needed to be a little bit selfish about everything around me and think about me more than anything. So I needed at that point to take a very bold decision. Um, I probably, if I have to do it again, I probably will do it differently, but do I have regrets of what I did? No, because I will never regret for what I did in the past, because what I did in the past is what it's the result that I'm here now, and I'm really happy where I am. So,
For sure. I know from our conversations as DaySmart Pet, the conversations we have with groomers like you and other groomers in the industry, we often hear that this community deals with a lot of challenges day to day, as we discussed before. I think that's also why part of DaySmart Pet's goal is to create software that helps kind of simplify a pet groomer's daily tasks and responsibilities. And in turn, it helps them deal with things like burnout and fatigue. What are some signs would you say are signs of burnout in groomers that they can identify early on?
well, it's good that you bring that question because one of the biggest challenge of stress factors that a groomer faces every day It's dealing with customers, not the dogs, the owners,
Mm,
the people that walks in. And I think the more the more we work, like for example, a software in your grooming salon is a wonderful source, a wonderful tool for you to take that stress out of your way, because you don't have to deal with the appointment books in paper. You don't have to deal with mistakes on your appointment books, on your managing your grooming salon. Using a software basically take that, it's one way to for you to find wellness, because you don't have to face a lot of things that will stress out from dealing with customers. I remember years ago we didn't have any software, we didn't have computers, everything was done in paper and
mm,
written down, and you have no idea how many mistakes we made by using that old system. And I remember, as soon as I found out about software, I immediately included computers to my practice, and and I tried always to make everything automatic, like automize. I don't know if that's a word. I'm not fully bilingual, so hopefully I don't. Forgive me if I
you're
say
doing
something
great.
wrong. But you know, once I found about technology, I immediately added to my grooming practice, and it took a lot of stress out of my shoulders.
Yeah,
So, software and technology, it's something that you have to add up to your salon on your path to wellness.
for sure. And I think when we talk about software, there's this often misconception from a lot of people of, oh, software is tech and I don't know tech and I'm intimidated to make that start, right? I don't want to start doing things where I have to use computers and software because I'm not good at it. But it sounds like from your experience, you got to start somewhere, right? And it could be user friendly if you find the right kind of software, from what I understand in your experience.
Well, before COVID, so many people were not used to Zoom, were not used to Teams, were not used to Skype and all the meeting platforms that we had available now. So I'm talking about technology, and people were refusing to use it. But you know, how many things we can get done in this present moment of time by using these meeting platforms. I did a lot of, you know, and I constantly do education, meeting, and work. So I tell groomers, open your mind not only for tools and equipment, but also to technology, because and use the technology and the social media as, you know, as your power tool to take the stress out of your shoulders. There's you know, imagine that I have to fly to you to make this interview, and how I am so comfortable in my house, sitting here in this interview with you remotely, and I feel like I'm sitting with you here in this living room. And it's just because we need to be more open to the new technology, to the new things that we have available, and software is one of those things that groomers need to look into, and get rid of the paper book and start being more digital, because there are some features on these softwares that will help you to make your practice more efficient.
For sure. And I think that goes exactly back to this point of burnout and finding ourselves being fatigued and tired so quickly. I do also want to address and talk to you about ways groomers can address the burnout. We recently talked about rest and why rest is so important for groomers. How can they find ways to step away from the chaos of work and just prioritize themselves?
Well, to relieve that burnout, one of my recommendations is in, and we're talking about there are different ways to do it. If you wanted to do it in the daily basis, um, sign up for yoga classes, sign up for fitness, do some cardio. at at the end of the day, try to do something um to help yourself to isolate from the stress. And that's probably your for daily basis. But groomers, they need to take vacations. Do not think about using the excuse of the holidays, of the forced
Mm.
holidays, to use it as a vacation time, because that it's not vacation time. It's a holiday. It's a time for you to spend with your family or stuff like that. Take some time in the slowest month of the year and take 1 or 2 weeks and decompress. Stay away from customer calls. Just stay away and just take vacation. Take some time off. If you're afraid of staying communication or not being able to do it, grab a cruise. Go on a cruise. On a cruise, you're not going to be able to communicate with people because you don't have any cell signal. And don't buy the Wi-Fi package. Don't cheat on that. Um, Stay away and decompress. Actually, we have a groomers cruise. There's a
A
groomer
groomer's
cruise.
cruise. Wow.
Yes.
Tell me more.
Yeah, it's the Barclay have a groomers cruise that you can sign up, and each year a group of groomers they go on the cruise. I have been a speaker on those cruise, and you can, it's kind of a educational cruise because you have one day that you're going to take a seminar on board, but then the rest of the week you're basically networking and just probably like complaining or gossiping about things from
Letting it out.
customers. Just yeah, complain with other groomers. We all have the same topics we talk, and that probably will release some of the tension because you're not going to feel alone. You're going to
Oh,
feel
for sure.
empathy with other people, and not only you feel better, but you think you're not alone in this world. So the groomer cruise is one good advice, and also to help yourself with the burnout, take some continuous education a couple of times a year if you want, or once a year. Just commit yourself to go to one of the trade shows or educational platforms and take continuous education, because it's going to get that stress out of your shoulder when you groom better, when you understand the tools better, when you know how to scissor better, clip better, or like know how to do CPR, understand skin and code. Like if you understand things, then you're not gonna be like blind eye doing stuff. You know the ABC and you feel better. My grooming, it's more confident now because of my knowledge, because of my training. So combined with that time off with some fitness, yoga classes, Zumba classes, meditation, um, you name it. Just spend some time with yourself.
For sure. You brought up a really good point about trade shows and the cruise that you previously mentioned. And I thought about how important it is that people in their industry find community. And the beautiful and unique thing, I think, about the grooming industry is because it's so niche, the community seems to be very strong. I guess my question for you is how important is building a community and a circle of grooming friends and grooming network when it comes to finding support and a space for wellness?
Well, networking, it's very important because professionally speaking, not only you develop a family with the same needs, with the same likes, with the same topics. Um, we as dog people, it's difficult for us to talk to non-dog people, people that, because our topics of conversation probably might be limited to the things that, you find interest. If I have to spend a night with somebody, I'd rather be with a groomer. So we can talk about, yeah, we can talk about dog stuff, our
I love
things.
it.
It's and you don't feel alone. you don't feel like you are one person dragging your body every day to work. You feel empathy for others, and others will feel empathy with you. And it's a, you know, it's a constant. I don't know. It just feel you don't feel alone, and that takes a lot of stress out of your shoulder because you think, oh, what I think it's a big thing in my life, then it's not because my problem it's the problem of another person, and it's not a problem if there's a solution. And that's when wellness start because you start like feeling better. And one piece of advice, please get rid of these people that drag your energy from your body. Vampires of happiness. When you have people around you that are always like bringing you these problems and this constant low energy, get rid of them. Get be selfish and find wellness. Get surrounded by people successful, happy, and with good spirit because you can benefit from the positive energy, and those people eventually will join the good energy club
For
because
sure.
we don't want low energy clubs. We want high energy club, positive energy clubs that will feed, we can feed from each other. I am always smiling. I'm always happy. I'm always projecting the beautiful life of a groomer that travels around the world doing what I love most, being with dogs. I feel like a dog inside, and I want to share my happiness with other people because I feel it's contagious. I feel it can benefit other people. So I build a community worldwide, and you can build a community at trade shows. You can build a community in your own community using
Mm.
social media and get together. Start the good conversation that will release a lot of stress from your shoulders.
And I'm sure so many people are out there waiting for that one person to start the conversation. So it does take finding those spaces that work for them. Whoever is listening to this, if cruises are not your thing, fine, try trade shows. If that's not your thing, try social media, as you said. So I think that's really, really great advice. I know we're almost running out of time, but I do want to ask you one more question. And that is, in one sentence, what would you want listeners to take away from our conversation about prioritizing wellness in the grooming industry?
Okay, say that again.
No worries. In one sentence, I know it's a challenge. What
Yeah.
would you want listeners to take away from our conversation about prioritizing their wellness in the grooming industry? What's
Well,
the
as I
main takeaway?
as I said before, take command of your own life. Take
Mm.
command of your own life. Don't let the thing outside control your life, control your body. And that's your good way for wellness.
Love it. Love it. I think this is the perfect time to end the conversation. This was such positive vibes. I can feel your positive vibes radiating through the screen. I'm ready to start my day. This was just great. I really appreciate you being here. And I also just can't wait to share this with the world.
Thank you so much.